Shalom again, everybody. Ariel Tzadok here from the KosherTorah School, found online at www.KosherTorah.com, bringing to you today's daily lesson in the Sefer Yetzirah. This is lesson number 89, counting down towards the end, dedicating these classes as we have since the beginning to the safety, health, well-being, prosperity, protection, and development of common sense. Everybody around the world who so needs all of these things. Blessings to everybody. But now, getting down to business. We are in the 6th chapter. In our previous class, I jumped ahead to discuss Mishnah number 4, where we talked about the Tili. Well, we're going to actually go back now in Chaim Vital's version of the text to what is Mishnah number 3. And a curious discussion about the Emesh. Now, if you remember, chapter 6 is a review. It's going back over pretty much the entire teachings of the text. You would ask the question, well, then who needs it? I mean, if it's not telling us anything new, but it's telling us something essentially new. Remember, this is a text, even though it's of the old school called Ma'aseh Bereshit, meaning the secrets of creation, it is also, because you can't disconnect one school from another, the secrets of Ma'aseh Merkabah, or meditation or angelic interactions. Chapter 6 is teaching us the practice of how to put our text into practice as the real way, remembering that this is not just a psychological exercise, but takes the individual human mind back into the greater reality of that realm of, in quote, others whom we call angels. And that is why we discussed the Teli. And we brought into that discussion an understanding of the Seraphim and the Hayot and the Ofanim. And of course, the Teli. Now, when we practice meditation, it is only natural, and it's all the real definition of an authentic meditative experience is that you go outside your mind into the greater reality. If all you're doing is staying inside your own head and relaxing and being comfortable, you haven't accomplished anything. Really, you haven't accomplished anything. You've accomplished relaxation, fine, as we'd say in Hebrew, mazel tov, okay? You can accomplish meditation today with a pharmaceutical, with alcohol, drugs, okay? That is not expanding consciousness. There are those out there who think that if they get drunk with alcohol, they're expanding consciousness. I mean, you couldn't have anything more further from the truth than that, but try to convince those people who are jumping up and down, smoking pot and drinking alcohol and thinking they're having a spiritual experience. And all due respect, and I certainly don't mean to be offensive, but I probably am going to be, people who are doing things like that and think they're having a spiritual experience obviously show that they have absolutely no clue of what a real spiritual experience is all about. And what that is very clearly the expansion of the powers of the mind, the likes of which we see in practice with the biblical examples of the biblical prophets, Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah, Elisha. Go look at their examples. We have a video course on their lives right now available, Facebook, YouTube, Patreon. Check it out and see for yourselves. Read your Bible, see for yourselves. This is the authentic origins of what we call the biblical prophetic Kabbalah. And that, centuries after the Bible, is what our Sefer Yetzirah is here to teach us. So in its normal, or for the text is normal, coded language, it reveals to us again the ways and means and nature of angelic interaction, the likes of which is also suggested, referred to, in chapter 1 of the text, but here, in its typical coded way, it's going to reinforce the lesson with a little bit more teaching. So, Mishnah number 3 from Chaim Vital version states, Shlosh emot emesh, the 3 mothers, as we said, the 3 mother letters, Aleph and Mem and Shin. Remember, we're not talking about the letters. They are representations of what they mean, horizontal realities, the balance between Netzach and Hod at one level, a higher level of Tiferet and, of Hesed Gavura, and a third of Chokhmah Bina. These are levels of consciousness. Netzach Hod level is the lowest level of consciousness of balanced emotions. Hesed Gavura, the balance of unconscious or subconscious emotions. Chokhmah Bina, the balance of the powers of the mind, rational and intuitive. Keep that in mind when we discuss them. Avir, Eish, Mayim, air, fire, water. Air, Ruach, spirit, is always breath. And breath and breathing is vital because, as anyone with real meditative teachings will tell you, and show you actually, is that breathing techniques are vital to expanding consciousness. You either hold back breath or you extend breath. There are times when you breathe very shallow and times when you breathe very deeply. There are times when you can breathe in through the nose, breathe out through the mouth with sound. Ah. And there are times when you are silent with just breath. And as you breathe, you should be able to feel in yourself that you get kind of like a little lightheaded and the like. I think they call it today some form of hyperventilation, where in which you're literally controlling, manipulating the oxygen that goes into your brain, causing yourself to semi-pass out, activating the right brain or the intuitive psychic mind, allowing it to stream into consciousness. So breath and breathing techniques are vital for balancing out both the mind and the emotions. That's why, whenever you get upset, what does everybody tell you? Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Breath is the balance. Fire is said to be above, water below, with avir, air, being the ruach or spirit, hok, the law, machria bentayim, which balances between them. What does it mean, fire is above, water below? Well, we've already described this, if you remember. Fire is the shin. Shin corresponds to that place, or the horizontal line connecting Chokhmah Bina, the power of the mind. The mem, that corresponds to Netzach and Hod. We said that corresponds to the tummy area, right? Netzach Hod. And we say that the mem corresponds to Netzach Hod, which are the external or lower emotions. Now, it also, if you remember, refers to the Dantian area. Now, again, when you're practicing meditation, especially from a martial arts point of view, you recognize that that area below your belly button there, that is where the real pocket of energy is. Now, what does it mean here? Fire above, water below, air in the middle. And it says here, and this is what makes it important, Siman ledavar. Here is a sign to what this all means. We say here, ha'esh noseh et hamayim, that the fire actually carries the water. Noseh. It's a kind of weird word. Fire carries water. What on earth does that mean? And then the text says that the mem is domemet, silent. Avir, aleph, is the avir, air. Ruach bentayim. No, I forgot. That the shin is shoreket, which means to whistle or to hum or to hiss, like crackling fire. Those are the words of the Mishnah. Now let's put it all together. Understand now the nature and proper ways and means of meditation. When one meditates, one begins by breathing. What is the purpose of breathing? First things first is to calm your emotional state. Go back into your Bible. Look at the prophets, whether it's Elisha or others. They all danced. They all played music. Not the wild, deathhead, heavy metal music that so many people listen to today, which has such negativity either in its lyrics or in its music. but they danced to that which was elevating, exciting, enticing, even sexual and erotic, because this tapped you into the inner energy, the inner emotions. We call it the nafesh. In other traditions, of course, they will call it the chi or the orgone or the prana, the kundalini. Energy is energy. Don't get into your ethnic high horse to think that there's good energy and bad energy. Come on. God is the author and creator of all, and energy is only going to be defined as how you decide to use it. I can take electricity and use it to cook my food, or I can run it through your chair, turn it into an electric chair, and cook you. One's good, one's not so good. You get the message. That's how you have to understand energy. The mem is the silence, the domemet. But remember what we said about the tantien down below. Okay, this is the secret of an old teaching that Abba Bara Batra, that the father creates the daughter, that the letter Yod gives rise to the final world Hey. The power of the mind, okay, the intuitive psychic mind, as we know, controls the physical body. That is why the power of the psychic intuitive mind is the domemet. It is silent. Why? Because unless it itself is, if you will, activated by or picked up by the intelligent mind, it lies unmoving, kind of like water. You gotta shake it up. So that's why the text says that the fire carries the water. The fire is the intellect, bina, chokhmah. But that chokhmah, as we said, is the intuitive, which goes down into the domemet, the silence. And so by the activation of all, how? By the breath, which balances. We balance and silence the emotions. And that's the first step. But deep inside, we all know we got a lot of inner turmoil. That's your unconscious emotions, or what Rab Chaim Vital and other places would call the matter of what's called the mechuse, the concealed, the kasui. And even though our job is to bring certain, what we call secret things to make them revealed, what we have to do is what's called mituk hadinim, or what we call the sweetening of the judgments, or adding balance and harmony or fluidity to that which is too rigid. So the technique is actually a reference way back to, like I said earlier, in Sefer Yetzirah chapter 1, what's called the sechel hatinuda, or oscillating consciousness. This is the technique summed up. Through your breathing, yes, you can use music, or dance if it works for you. It worked thousands of years ago. Today, it's not so much our tradition. Again, those people who practice today music and dance tend to augment it, again, with the alcohol and the drugs, driving them in the complete opposite direction. None of them are having authentic and actual, if you will, beyond the body psychic expansion experiences. They could feel all happy and giddy and feel, hey, I got some insights into Torah. That's all well and good. But they're not making contact and they know it. Okay? Proof. Remember we said siman l'davar? Everything requires proof. When you're expanding consciousness, you can go places, whether it's called remote viewing or astral projection, and you go there for real. And how do you actually know that you're really there? So, for example, if I want to close my eyes and astral project myself or remote view you, and I'm going to look, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to go into your life. All right, let's just, for argument's sake, in the present. I'm not going to bother past or future. And I want to see, what are you doing right now? I can see, you are at your desk right now. You're having a white bread sandwich. You're eating as you're listening to my video. What do you know? And somehow, some way, I am actually watching you. Now, just in case somebody's actually out there with eating a white bread sandwich, listening to this video, I'm not really like spying on you. Please don't think that. but I'm just giving an example. And let's just say you, with the white bread sandwich, is really out there. Maybe I actually did, possibly, as I am thinking and seeking in my imagination. I'm just free associating, all right? So we learned in the Jungian Institute and right out of the prophetic Kabbalah. Maybe I really did connect with you. How do I know? How do I know whether or not I just had an imagination I made up or I actually made a connection? Maybe somehow, some way, someone's going to see this video in the future, watch it on Facebook, YouTube, Patreon, wherever we have it, and they'll put me an email or a comment or a note. Rabbi, as I watched this, I was eating that sandwich and maybe you saw me. Maybe I did. I don't know. But you see, I am not willing to dismiss that possibility. And neither should you with your own experiences. One of the greatest enemies of expanding consciousness is what we call in Hebrew safek. Safek means doubt, self-doubt. It is no coincidence the numerical value of the Hebrew word Amalek, which is considered to be the arch enemy of God. Self-doubt is our true personal arch enemy. We need to understand the power of the rational intellectual mind represented by the shin, how it corresponds to the unconscious mind or through the power represented by the letter mem. That's why the mind upholds the unconscious and activates it. Or the shin, as it says, or the fire carries the water. That's what it means. The conscious mind has to carry the unconscious mind, has to open it up. How? Balancing your external emotions, which is again nitzachod, exploring and dealing with your inner emotional turmoil, your unbalanced internal subconscious emotions. And subconscious is really the hard place that we have to deal with each as individuals. And of course that represents the aleph. That's again through breath. And together we can then go into the mind and learn to explore our own thoughts. Allow yourself to have a great imagination. Again, at the same time, allow yourself to have a great education. The minute you block and limit your education, you are taking away building blocks for your mind to use through the imaginative faculty that will use them to guide and direct you into the proper paths of true enlightenment and experience of the greater world. You have to believe that there are other realities out there, other entities, other guys, gals, whatever they are, and they're right with you right now. They're not far away that you're going to call through some magic ritual. They're right there. Call them your guardian angel, call them your higher self, call whatever the heck you want. We live in a very populated world. And just like we have families of flesh and blood, we have families of soul. And your thoughts, your feelings attract to you, draw to you those that are natural and indigenous to you, who exist in a higher realm and reality. And when we learn to communicate with them through expanding our minds, they will communicate with us through the fire and the water. The imaginative faculty of the mind, as it is properly perceived through the intellect, just like all the angels spoke to all the prophets. Go look at Daniel and Zechariah and the like. We do the same thing to this day. So if you want to really experience what the Sefer Yetzirah is here to teach, use these letter permutations as your guide to seek out all the different possible permutations, potentials of all things. Figure out how to turn the nega, plague, into oneg, pleasure. Figure out how to turn the bad into the good in a realistic, practical way that makes your life different. Then you're putting the Sefer Yetzirah into practice. Remember, Yetzirah, not Asiya. It's going to give you the thoughts up here. When angels or other entities speak to us, they're not going to come in physical form. 50-foot angels come and ripping roofs off of houses. They're going to speak inside your mind. They're going to talk to you inside your intuitive psychic intellect. And when you become sensitive to and aware of their presence, you can actually channel them. A lot of people say, well, I channel all the time. I'm channeling Napoleon. I'm channeling the president. I'm channeling Socrates. Okay, you know what? Yeah, I think we might need a little bit more clarification of what's going on inside of you. You're thinking those things. But at the same time, proof. Check it out. Trial and effort. Tried and true will only come once you try it. And then we'll see if it stands up to the test of scrutiny. But we'll pick up and continue as we learn all about things like scrutiny in our next Mishnah, which would be actually lesson 5. And I'll see you then, and we'll talk.